Welcome back to another episode of the BoomBastiCAST.
That's right.
With the great and wonderful Mr. Matthew Fisher and the one and the only Alexander Hawk, which is me.
How you doing over there, kid?
I'm doing good. Today we are lucky to announce that we are going to be interviewing Mr. Mark Christopher Lawrence. Now, he's a comedian. He's been in some great films. He's been in Pursuit of Happiness. He's been in Capex. He's been in the TV series Chuck. That's where I first
You're a gigantic fan of Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Huge fan of Chuck.
Yeah, love the TV series. And also, he was in Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Glorious.
A very good guy, very talented. And I gotta say, I'm very happy that we were able to get him on the show.
Me too. You know, that was an Alexander the Great Hawk find. You know what I mean? Mark Christopher Lawrence, gigantic comedy career. His you know, that's what I'm a big fan of from this gentleman. Right off the bat is the comedy aspect, the impact of comedy. You know, doing the stand up, which I love, as well as some gigantic comedy shows. You know, television. You know, me and the Hawkman been saying been kicking into some comedy and television for a while, and this man is a pure example of that direction. So quite possibly, you could argue the biggest shows that have ever been on television. This gentleman has been around on generations. You know what I mean? We're talking 90, maybe even some 80s, but 90s. You know what I mean? 2000s, 2010s, still killing it to this day. If it was a show that you liked, this dude was probably on it. You know what I mean? Making you smile.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's done a lot of stuff. He's also was on the George Wendt show, which I have to admit I did not see when it was on, but both Matt and I are big Cheers fans.
I believe it was early 2000s. I believe it was on. They were everybody from yesterday was getting a show kind of. Danson got his own show. Let me see. Woody Harrelson was killing it in the movies, so he wasn't doing the show thing. But George Wendt was doing it. They never gave Cliff his own show.
Well, I mean, they did give him Toy Story.
They gave him Toy Story. Yeah, I mean that was a.
Well, Cliff really, for the most part, he's killing it voice acting wise.
Yeah.
Because IMDb, he's like on like almost every Pixar film, and he lends his voice to a lot of. And it's interesting when you talk about voice acting. You have two types of voice actors. You have those that can do a million different voices, and then you have people like him who have a very distinct voice that works for a very distinct type of character, which people like to use in animation.
Right. No, I'm with that.
Yeah,
I support that to the fullest.
But and like I said, we're psyched. We can't wait to talk about his career, about Mark's experiences, and everything from comedy to film to TV. This guy has done it all. I'm just really happy to get a chance to talk to him about this.
He's like Alexander Hawk. He's done a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
A little sprinkled in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this Chuck show. Now, I'm not really too familiar with the Chuck show. Now, what is this? What's the whole plot to the Chuck show? I know you were a big fan of it, and when this gentleman came across the platter, I know Chuck was the first vehicle that popped out of your mouth that you were so excited about.
Well, I mean, for those who might or might not know, Chuck was a TV series that starred Zachary Levy. I think that's
Shazam.
Yeah, Shazam himself. That's I mean, I'm sure he's did other things, but that was the first thing that I saw him. He was the showrunner on that.
Right.
He was the big star. And the entire premise is you have this guy that works at, in this reality, a Buy More, which is, of course, a parody of Best Buy. And he was part of the nerd herd, which, goes around and fixes your computers. A very genius that ends
Geek
up,
Squad.
yeah, the Geek
It's
Squad.
literally the Geek Squad. That's funny that it's literally Best Buy and the Geek Squad chain.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
Of course, they couldn't use the exact names because of copyright infringement. But
They're riding that line, I feel.
right in that line.
Yeah.
But and the character Chuck gets like all the information, dark, deep secrets of the government that downloaded into his brain. So when he sees something, he sees a flash, and then he can tell you, oh, by seeing that guy's scar or that guy's ring, that he's a secret agent from Moscow that has 5,000 kills under his belt. And of course, it's almost kind of like a little Matrixy.
Yeah.
Where he can all of a sudden know how to do kung fu or some other cool little things because all that's been downloaded into his head.
There's a movie called Glitched by Andrew Lau that Boombastic Films actually released way back when. And have you seen it?
I know of it.
It's on our YouTube for free if anybody wants to go check it out on the Boombastic Media page. But that was, I believe that was before Chuck, I will say, and same plot from what I'm told and from what I'm hearing. Yeah. So it's one of those things, But Chuck, I would be willing to bet that whoever wrote Chuck worked at Best Buy, maybe at Geek Squad. That's a little too close to home, too close to the sleeve, as they say. You know what I mean?
But and Mark Christopher Lawrence, who we're going to be talking to, played Big Mike.
My favorite performance of his is Tone Deaf in Fear of a Black Hat. I love that movie. Rusty Cundiff, the writer-director, also stars in it. Also did Tales from the Hood. I'm a big fan of. I think he's a very underrated director. But Tone Deaf in that, it's good. It's like a mockumentary hip-hop come up. It's almost like that CB4, I think it is, the Chris Rock hip-hop one. I don't know which one came out earlier. That's a good question. But they ride the same line. That's a good watch. That's on Amazon for anybody out there to peep. And that was hard to get for the longest time. Came out, I believe, in 1994. It captivates everything. It kind of captivates the hip hop world of that time. All the different characters that you would get within that community. I know that his character is he's like the DJ, and the MC start butting heads, and he's kind of trying to be the peace bringer there. And it's cool. It's one of I love those mockumentary type films. You know what I mean? They're a lot of fun. But yeah, this is definitely gonna be good times. There's definitely a lot to talk out. He was in A Living Color. You know what I mean? A Living Color is one of the best of all time. You know what I mean? For sure. No doubt about that. Love it. Living Color. A lot of humor that I feel like I write or even say, I think is from A Living Color days. It's just that like crazy, off the wall, offensive, raucous, you know what I mean? SNL was like more cleaned up because it was Channel 7 where it was more widespread. But I think In Living Color was Fox, I believe, which is it was just well seen, but it had also had like Married with Children and shows like that were like pushing the boundaries of comedy, So like it worked. But yeah, Living Color is the bomb. I'm pretty sure that was Fox. Later, Mad TV would go to Fox too.
Yeah, Fox always kind of pushed the envelope when it came to
Fox 25 was the bomb diggity in the 90s.
Oh, heck yeah.
It was almost a rebellious station with some of the comedies that it put on. You know what I mean? One day, mark my words, one day in the not so distant future, somebody will probably be doing a documentary on how pushing the envelope Fox TV was. You know what I mean? And because you got to think, these stations have a gigantic audience, so their influence is heavy. So, the influence of a studio like that, big channel like that, pumping out, a little rougher comedy out there to the masses. That is something to, I feel, be applauded. But other people could probably say, slap them on the wrist for that. That's bad things. But it all depends on where you fall with that argument, I guess. But in Living Color, gracious, the same year that they did Fear of a Black Hat, you know what I mean? 1993. Year of the Wicked Hollows. It's a beautiful thing.
So with no further ado, here is Mark Christopher Lawrence to BoomBastiCAST. Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Good. What's happening?
Matt, how you doing?
Holding on. Another beautiful day in sunny Southern California.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. We got a sunny day over in Massachusetts today.
There you go. Is that's your one for the year?
Yeah, that's our one. We had rain yesterday and the day before. Yeah. But what can you do, you know? We keep it fun.
Yeah.
It's always interesting because I believe that we literally have one day of spring every year. Just one day. Only one day that, you know, it's nice and cool, not too hot, not too cold, but just one day, and that's our spring. That's what we have over here.
You know, that during the spring, you know, there's a lot of bunnies in my neighborhood, but lately they've been there just all year round. So
yeah.
Apparently every day is spring.
That's a good thing, man. If you can see the bunnies jump around, you know, there's nothing out there eating them up. You got to worry about.
I mean, I'm so happy that you agreed to go and have this interview with us. I mean, we're both big fans. We love your work, and we've been watching your stuff on TV and movies. And one of the things I wanted to ask you, I was doing a little research, and I went on your Wikipedia page, and it made a comment that in school you were part of the debate team.
Yeah. My 10th grade teacher got me involved in speech, and that ultimately led to a debate scholarship to USC. And I didn't debate, I did individual events like speech to entertain, oral interpretation of literature, you know, persuasive speaking, expository speaking, impromptu speaking, that stuff like that.
The speech thing you're talking about was like you do like announcements and such. What exactly was that?
Well, it's competitive speaking. It's you know, like I said, oral interpretation of literature, you know, speech to entertain, impromptu speaking, expository speaking, persuasive speaking. You know, there's all these different events. 1984, I took 4 events to the national tournament and won them all. And was outstanding speaker of the nation. That's how I ended up at USC.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, it was just a teacher that took an interest and got me involved in something other than gangbang, you know.
Which is a very positive thing, yeah.
Yes.
So that was kind of like the foundation of what would become with like the stand-up as well as like the acting then, you know what I mean? That was big.
Absolutely. She introduced me to a guy who was one of her former students, and I was doing the same piece of literature that he was doing, that he did when he competed. And so she had him come coach me. And turns out he was doing these shows at USC called Evening of Soul. And so they were basically a variety show, and talked me into doing a little bit of stand-up. And that's how I started stand-up in 11th grade, you know, doing shows for him.
The biggest fear, I think, of all that is getting up in front of people. And when you transition, when you're young and you just get that out of your head, that the hypeness of people,
right,
sky's the limit, you know what I mean?
Right. You know, once you get past that, it's just second nature. You know, like now I can get up and talk in front of anybody.
Yeah. It's crazy how much that holds people back when you think about it, that fear of just getting up in front of people. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we're afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's crosses the border on so many different issues, you know, that we have in life, you know, all the stuff that we're going through in our country right now, you know, all the racist crap, and it's because people are afraid of the unknown. It's like, you know, you get to know me, it's like, I'm just a regular dude.
Right. Agreed.
I mean, speech and being able to convey thoughts and reaching people through whether it's film, TV, or just speaking, the oratory process itself is very important in reaching people and trying to bring people to, you know, with different viewpoints that aren't their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, if you look at children, for example, you know, kids don't see color; they just see another kid. You know, racism is a learned behavior. You know, we're taught that. And once we get out of that mindset and realize that we're all the same, you know, sky's the limit.
Yeah. You know, with comedy, I think comedy was a big breaking down the barrier with race. You know what I mean? You get up there, get everybody can just kind of relate and laugh, and you let everybody know they're all the same type deal.
Yeah, but people are so thin-skinned now. It's like you can't just, like back in the day, like George Carlin, he would just point something out. He wouldn't give you a solution. He'd point out the problem. And if you do that now, people, you know, want to cancel you.
Yeah, yeah. They're afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was George one of your influences coming in, or, you know, did you have influences, or was it just kind of with the comedy thing, or was it like when you said they put you on stage for the first time, they kind of pushed you to do it?
Yeah.
The
first time I went up at the Comedy Store in Hollywood.
Okay.
I did 3 minutes, and you know, me and my best friend, we went over there and signed up and got on stage, and I was supposed to be on at 10, and we kept getting pushed back because these headliners kept coming in.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Robin Williams came in and dropped a 45-minute set.
Jeez.
And then it was like 2 people in front of me. I was so glad I didn't go right after him.
Yeah.
Because nobody was listening.
Yeah.
And then finally, I got on at like midnight. And Louis Anderson said to me after, he goes, "Hey, you got something, kid. Keep writing."
Yeah.
You know, that was the beginning of it. And then that's when Perry started putting me into those shows. And ultimately met Rusty Cundiff, who wrote and directed a lot of Dave Chappelle's show and Fear of Black Hat. And,
yeah.
You know, we became friends, and, you know, still friends to this day.
I love Rusty Cundiff. We were talking before the show. I think he's very underrated. I love
Oh, absolutely.
Fear of a Black Hat's great, and Tales from the Hood. It's like one of my favorite horror movies from the '90s. I love it.
Yeah, we lost Clarence this week.
I know, sad. He's the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're gonna take a journey through the career. So when we get closer to that period, we'll ask if you had any stories with Clarence or anything like that. Because we love Clarence. He's so intense. He was such a. There'll never be another. You know, he's one of those actors. There'll never be another one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. He was very intense. Yeah.
So it started kind of with the stand-up, right? Doing the stand-up stuff, and you were doing that. Alex said you got a chance to work with one of my favorite people of all time, Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was opening for I believe it was Jimmy McGee at Rodney's place in Vegas, and then Rodney was involved in a lawsuit with Caesar's Palace because he had burned his eyes in the jacuzzi, and they asked him, "Well, how'd you burn your eyes?" He says, "Well, there was a couple of broads in there." And so he canceled the weekend of shows. So they sued him, and then he countersued and won. So I get to the showroom that night, and Dutch, the sort of last bastion of mafioso Vegas, said to me, he says, "Hey, I sent all those other hacks home. You're gonna do 30 minutes tonight, and then introduce Rodney, and that's the show." I said, "What do you want me to say?" He goes, "It's Rodney Dangerfield. Just say his name." And then got to hang out with Rodney pretty much all night that night till the sun came up, which was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, that would have been great.
Yeah, the stories.
Hey, are there any stories we could hear on the podcast of that night of the crazy debauchery? Or
that was definitely debauchery. It's like I everywhere we went, we never had to pay for anything. It was just like we'd go somewhere. We went to one place for appetizers, went to another place for dinner, went to another place for dessert, and then ended up at Rodney's penthouse where he had a 3-piece band in there playing, and it was just crazy. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, when you get some dough, you can do this.
I really wanted. They really need to make a movie about Rodney, man. I read that he wrote that book. I read that book in like 3 days, and it's a lot of tragic stuff. A lot of it's like tragic stuff, but like the fun stories and all that crazy wackiness. There would be a great movie out of all that.
Oh yeah, Yeah, and he was really, really a nice man. It's like, I remember after I introduced him, I said, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Rodney Dangerfield. And he comes on, he goes, how about my son, Mark? It was so funny.
Hell yeah.
But, yeah, just a good dude, man.
He is, not only is the comedic genius, I mean, he opened up so many doors for different comedians that it's like ridiculous. I don't know why there never was a movie. Yeah,
Yeah, it should be. I mean, definitely should be.
You know what I mean?
It's like who would you get to play him? It's like it's like you think of sort of the big name comics. I don't think that there's anyone that can handle it. But then there's a couple of guys that are kind of unknown that I think would be great.
I think that'd be unknown would be perfect for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody loves Rodney. The best impression I've ever seen was I used to work at a cell phone company, and the UPS guy did the best Rodney of all time. So like, there's people out there that they could discover and find and completely just become Rodney and win a nice award.
Right.
When they jumped into that 30-minute spot, when they canceled out those people, were you ready for it? Because I know when you said the 3 minutes before, 3 minutes sounds like short amount of time, but when you're up there, it's like a lifetime, right?
Yeah, well, by then I was already featuring for other comics.
Okay,
cool. So this Bob Zaney used to book Rodney's place, and so he had me in the host opening spot, which I think was 20 minutes, and then there was like a 30-minute spot, and then there was the headliner who'd do 45, and that was the show. And but I was already going on the road with other comics, as a feature. So I do 30. That was basically what I was doing at the time. Was 30 anyway, so it was not a big deal. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Bob Zaney is a funny guy. You seen him on one of the specials. He had that joke about how the girl said if he lost like 80 pounds, she'd fuck him. And then he's like, if I lost 80 pounds, I wouldn't want to fuck you, or something like that.
Yeah, well, he lost like 100 pounds and half of his act.
Well, that goes with it. I mean, when you're heavy, I think a lot of that goes into your act. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I try not to do anything about me being heavy. Just like I think I have like one joke early in my act because I don't want to have to rewrite if I drop a bunch of weight.
Well, you get in trouble later in life. They'll come back and say that you're body shaming yourself.
Yeah.
My favorite one is I was watching one of your stand-ups about the love handles, about squeezing the love handles.
Yeah.
I like that. I got plenty of love handles on myself, so I know the pain and also the pleasure of just squeezing the love out of them.
Right, and they've been with me for so long, through thick and thicker.
Yeah, true. So we'll jump into some acting work. Looks like the first thing you did was some television.
Yeah, my first show was my first audition was for Hill Street Blues, and it's one of two drug dealers I played my whole career, and I auditioned and it was on the machine before I got home. So then for the next year, I'd run home and check my machine after every audition. Best thing that ever happened to me, because now I do it and let it go.
Yeah.
Not gonna get them all.
Yeah. Followed up by the following of your first film, Caddyshack 2.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Same process, because back then I was still jumping through all of the hoops. It's like you go in, you read for the casting assistant, who gives you a call back for the casting director, who gives you a call back for the director, who gives you a call back for the producers, and then you got a job. It's like now I'm at a point where I go straight to producer. I'm either gonna get a job or I'm not.
Right.
Yeah,
thank God.
Just go straight to the producer. That's what you got to do. Just cut out the middleman.
Yeah, exactly.
You being friendly with Rodney, did he ever have an opinion of like him not being in Caddyshack 2?
No, we didn't even talk about it. I think at that point I was just having so much fun hanging out with him that that it was just cool. Jackie Mason really bailed them out because Rodney didn't want to do the film, and they treated Jackie terribly. It's like it was embarrassing to watch, you know, the way they treated him. Yeah, even the PAs wouldn't call him Mr. Mason. It's just, hey, Jackie, they need you on set. And Chevy Chase got to set, and they're kissing his butt left and right. And it's like, you know, you guys don't get it. This is the star of the movie. And yeah, so it was really unfortunate. You know, Jackie had his shtick. I mean, sure, he wasn't Rodney, but
right.
It was like not like that film was written so brilliantly that
right.
and,
No,
and which is probably one of the reasons Rodney didn't want to do it.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad. I didn't even consider that. You know, people giving him thinking that he just like took it out of Rodney's hands or something when it was the, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that wasn't the case. Rodney didn't want to do it. They got into back and forth, and Rodney said, "Fine, I don't need it."
Well, that's unfortunate for Jackie.
Yeah.
You know.
And funny thing is, Jackie was a nice man too. It's like he really positive. You know, said he's like really positive. His shtick is very sort of grumpy old man, but he was really a good dude. Yeah.
That's good. That's for me and Alex always talk about it. You'll see, like, when you're coming up as a kid or whatever, you'll see these character actors that like play these bad guys a lot, and you kind of start to not like them as a kid. And then when you grow up, you're like, oh, they're just really good actors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's like sometimes kids don't make the transition to adult actors. It's like they're good as a kid because they're free, and they don't have like any training that bogs them down. And then as they get to be an adult, because they don't have any training, they can't make the transition. You know, what's her name? Regina King, in classic example of the opposite. You know, she as a kid wasn't fantastic, but was interesting. But as an adult, just a beast of an actor. Just, you know, it was from, what was that movie with Will Smith and Gene Hackman?
Enemy of the State?
Enemy of the State, yeah. She was, by the time she hit that movie, she had hit her stride. She was awesome.
Yeah.
And now she's got an Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I think it's kind of funny that you talk about child actors that transition. I think maybe I'm totally wrong, but I mean, when I'm watching, I notice that a lot of times you'll have like a child actor that doesn't do the child actor star roles. They usually are better at the transition to adulthood.
Yeah.
And then those that are like the Macaulay Culkins are those that are like the star, the big,
and then fall off, right?
Yeah,
right. That's an interesting observation. It's like I never really thought of it that way, but yeah, you're right.
A perfect example, like you said, with Regina King, but also Sam Rockwell. I mean, he's another one where, you know, I didn't realize that he started as a kid until I started, you know, watching some other stuff and making the comparison. But he's another one that, you know, he never had the big, you know, starring kid roles, but because he was in the industry as he got older, you know, he
got better. Yeah, I mean, what was it, Green Mile, where?
Oh yeah.
Whew, just, you know, he was multifaceted in that movie. It's like he showed his entire range. He was funny. He was tragic. He was jackass. You know what I mean? It was just really, really fantastic performance in that movie.
Yeah. One of the things. Also, after Caddyshack, he also was in Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Yeah, first big movie.
Yeah.
First big movie. Was at that point probably the most money I'd ever made in a film. I was supposed to work 2 days, ended up working 6 weeks. Went back and did a couple of weeks of pickup shots, and you know, it was just really a fantastic time in my career. I remember, you know, so sometimes shooting days, you start at like 5 in the morning, and then you go until the sun goes down, and then we switched to nights. And once we switched to nights, it was like, you know, sundown to sun up, and just I was so fascinated about the process. I found myself watching scenes, and I should have been sleeping or rested, waiting for my scene to come up. Yeah. And then work would finish, and I had to drive home all sleepy. I was like, but yeah, that was a fantastic time. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to stay up for that. You got to see James Cameron, one of the masters, work. You know, how was that? Seeing him work, do his thing.
Brilliant. I mean, he knew what he wanted to see, and you know, shot until he got it. You know, that when we chased Linda down that hallway, you know, we must have ran down that hallway 20 times. At one point, he goes, "Hey, when you guys come around the corner, try to stay closer to her so we keep getting the shot." I said, "Well, you got to slow her down. Our characters are burly attendants."
Yeah.
She was working out twice a day.
Gigantic, hundreds and hundreds of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, little known fact, in the video where Rodney King is getting his beaten, in the background, you see these big giant lights way off in the distance. Those are lights from Terminator 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
The Terminator 2, quite possibly one of the best sequels ever made. You know what I mean?
It's the way we watch movies. You know, Michael Jackson started it with the morphing. You know, it was $10,000 a second at that point. So when they did it in Terminator 2, it was still expensive like that. And now you can do it on your iPhone.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, that's technology. Technology, I mean, yeah, you have an idea and then you try to find ways to do it. And when you first do it, it's like so expensive. But now, like you said, now you can do it on an iPhone. And yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I think come out of things like Terminator 2 and other films where, you know, they are like, well, we want to do this. How can we do this? And they find a way to do it. And when they do that, I mean, after it's like the old saying that getting the first job usually is the hardest, but afterwards it's easier getting work because you've gone over that hill of getting the first job. And it's the same thing with technology. When you finally get to the point where you're able to actually do it, it might be rudimentary at first, but when you get there, then it's easier. And then as time goes on, it becomes easier to do and cheaper to do also.
Mm-hmm. You know, I say that Hill Street Blues changed the way we watch TV because all the cop shows are fashioned after Hill Street Blues. You know, that sort of grittiness, that realism, and then Terminator 2 changed the way we watch movies just because of the special effects and the things that you can do in a film now. And it was Terminator 2, you know, leading the way on that. You know, but you got to give a nod to Michael Jackson because he did it first.
Of course.
Yeah, I was watching an old movie. I don't even know what it was. I was flipping through the channels late at night, at 2, 3 in the morning, and there was this old film where it was a werewolf, Lon Chaney, and so they sort of did a morphing thing, but it was clearly an edit, but it was a slow fade, you know, from him as his normal character going into the werewolf. It's like slowly, it's like he had hair on his face, his eyebrows are all big, then he had these claws. It was like, oh man, that's like old school morphing.
Yeah, well, MJ was a big horror fan. You know, he loved he did Thriller, of course. He had John just directed, who just did American Werewolf in London, and I believe Rick was it? It might have been Rick Baker did the effects, or Bottin did the werewolf effects in Thriller, where he turns the wolf.
Yeah, Rick Baker had a fantastic career.
Yeah,
you know, just you know, and a lot of it was because of Michael. You know, some of the stuff that he did with Michael was just that people were like, "Hey, I want that."
Well, that's the thing. It's like they're gigantically huge in horror. But horror is such like a small audience when you think about it. But like Michael Jackson is like worldwide, huge, everywhere, mainstream. Like that's definitely the biggest thing they've done. You know what I mean? It's working with Michael.
Yeah. Well, I always say Michael is so big that people spend thousands of dollars to go to his concert and get right down front so they can pass out. I was like, that's love right there. I said, I've never been loved. My mother not once has passed out.
Well, if you could moonwalk, you should be passing out. It's that moonwalk. That thing is slick. That's too slick.
Oh man, yeah, it is.
Rest in peace, MJ.
I can moon pie. I tell you that. I'm the master of moon pie.
Yeah, dude, the Thriller is the greatest video ever made. I love that.
Oh,
video.
well, it changed videos.
For
It
sure.
changed, it went to people started making stories, with videos. They started making movies, really.
Yeah,
Thriller
yeah.
was a movie.
It's got Vincent Price narrated it, did the narration. You got a gigantic director. He always had huge, he had Scorsese direct one of his videos. He had huge directors.
Yeah.
I remember when Marlon Brando wouldn't return to do like Superman 2, he did like a Michael Jackson music video. It was like, what?
Yeah.
Craziness. How like when you were making Terminator 2 and that was being made, was the buzz around that gigantically huge? Did everybody know how big it was going to be? Because the first one was like a success,
It was a huge buzz, but so secretive.
Yeah.
It's like let's say I want to go and read for something now. They'll send you the script and they'll send you the sides, and so you can be prepared. There, I had to go the day before if I wanted to read the script, and then look at the sides while I was there, and then the next day I could come back early and work on the sides. They wouldn't let you take them off of the production office, out of the casting office. You had to stay there with it.
Yeah.
Just hugely secretive, but the buzz around Hollywood was fantastic. And I didn't think I got it, because it was like, 2 months later, I was looking for a new field of work, because it's like all my friends from debate were clerking for judges and working for major law firms. And here I was, hadn't worked in about 2.5, 3 months. And then I get a call from the wardrobe designer saying, hey, we need your sizes. And I was like, for what? And she goes, Terminator 2. I was like, oh. I was like, I didn't even know I got that. It was like 2 months ago. She goes, yeah, well, you got it. And so when I got off the phone with her, I called my agent and said, hey, I just got a call from wardrobe from Terminator 2. They said, yeah, we're on the phone with them right now.
It's funny when the wardrobe knows before everyone else.
Right.
That's when you tell the agent the wardrobe department's getting their cut.
Exactly.
Yeah, Terminator 2, iconic. One of the biggest movies of my youth coming out. Like the pop for that movie was huge.
Yeah, one of the biggest movies ever. At that point, it was the biggest budget ever, and then it's like, and most of it was that morphing, but like craft services, they had to be spending 10, 20 grand in craft services.
Yeah.
It's like middle of the night, you'd smell like, what is that? And there's Oak and Smoke. There used to be this place called Oak and Smoke in Pasadena, this awesome barbecue place. And they're cooking it up on site.
Oh man.
Just awesome. And that wasn't even dinner. That was just snacks.
I remember we had Hollywood's been coming to Massachusetts the last couple of years, and I went on Here Comes the Boom came around, and we went on that, and we walked around, and it was funny because you can see like when you got non-union and union people.
Yeah.
And like it's like the non-union was like, it was like rotted like lettuce and like fruit that's going bad. And then like the union people was like someone's prom. It was like all decorated like someone's prom with like all this gourmet food. It was like ridiculous.
And the thing is, it's like why do you treat people that way? Because you have to have some non-union folks as extras to make your movie. Treat everybody nice. It's like that's just the thing. It's like you're barely paying them, if you're paying them.
Right.
At least feed them well.
I think they do it. It's their incentive to pay the union fees.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you pay us so you can eat good like this.
Yeah, I mean, I was on Paul Blart Mall Cop when it was around here, and they were really bad to us non-union people. They literally on one day we worked 7 hours. Now in union rules, when you hit 7 hours, they're supposed to feed you
6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
6.
Well,
lying to you, Alex.
Hey.
lying to me. Well,
7 hours. You're into penalties at that point.
Well, anyway, we did 7 hours, and the guy says, okay, you can. Here's the deal. you can either go, SAG eats first, non-union eats second, and you can go and eat, get out of line, or you can stay in line, get your vouchers and your waivers, and just go home without eating. And most of us stayed in line because we were tired and we wanted to do our vouchers and just go home. The
Right.
guy stood up and he started bitching at us and saying that if he saw one of us even put a mouthful of food in, he'd make sure we never walk in that town again.
Wow. See, that's uncalled for.
Yeah, and I have to admit, and that was like one of the last times I ever really went to like a bigger budget film as extra. I'd
Yeah.
rather stay in the independent world where, you know, you might have you might not be as big or getting it out as much as like one of the bigger budget films.
Yeah.
For the most part, not saying that there's not some that aren't great, but for the most part, everyone knows that you're taking time out of your busy life to try to make something work. So for the
Right.
most part, people are willing to aren't going to give you any kind of that kind of crap. So I mean,
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. I think when the SAG rep comes around, he should see something like that and then go, hey, you got to treat people like people. It's crazy, whether they're union or not.
I think our union, our Massachusetts was a little wobbly for a little bit because there wasn't really anybody watching them. You know what I mean? It was one of those ordeals. So it was like one of those things. Because there was a couple of them got fired because they did some unsatisfactory practices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what can you do? It ain't child's play when it comes to acting in Massachusetts. No Child's Play 3, that's for sure. Are you a horror fan? Or did you take on that just kind of as like a work, which is cool too?
Yeah, I pretty much just don't turn stuff down.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not in a position where I can do that. It's like work comes up, I go after it. I think there's only been a couple of things that I passed on. Passed on a couple of commercials because it felt like they were selling cigarettes to kids, and I was like, I don't do that. And then there was an episode of Black Jesus that I passed on because I didn't want to take the fast track to hell. and then Rusty ended up directing the last season, and he calls me up. He goes, "Hey, I got a part in here for you." He says that, "Don't worry, you won't go to hell."
That's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
Making sure you don't go to hell. No.
Exactly.
Or either that, or the friends that are with you that you're going to hell together. So yeah.
Right. They're greasing the tracks.
Yeah.
Well, since we brought up Rusty, how did you actually meet Rusty?
Through Perry Brents, who got me involved in Evening Soul. That's the first time I did comedy for Perry was at a show at a junior high school in Compton, and Rusty was on the show. That's how I met Rusty.
Now, Fear of a Black Cat, was that his first film? That's his first film, right? Or did he do a
yeah, we had done a short prior to that called The Trial of NWH. And he was using that to shop his writing, and then they were like, ITC and Judgement Group, they wanted to do the film. They said, we want to make this film. And so he called me. I was on tour in Canada. He called me. He says, "Hey, where are you?" I said, "I'm in Canada." He goes, "ITC wants us to do this film." He says, "When are you back?" I told him when I was back. And he says, "We got to recast one of the parts, though." So we ended up recasting and got Larry B. Scott to play Tasty Taste.
Who was great.
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love that movie to death.
It's the only thing that I've done that I just watch and laugh because it's so ridiculous. And every day I go, shouldn't we do a clean take? and then my mother, who's Christian, and she went to the premiere. I was in Canada working, and so my sister and my mother went, and I get this message on my pager because I still had a pager back then. And she goes, "Yeah, I saw your little movie. Had to go home and repent." She said, "But it was funny." And then she goes, "Did you have to show your booty?"
Well, that wasn't yours, was it?
Yeah.
Was it really?
I said, I didn't write it, Mama. Yeah, we didn't have budget for a stunt, but that was me.
I believe there was some penis used in that scene as well.
It might have been. Her reaction was hilarious, though, the way she was like,
well, you can always tell her that booty you made that booty.
right.
That booty.
He took care of that booty to get to that place. Yeah, you know,
and spanked it often.
Exactly. I love that movie. For anybody out there that's not familiar with Fear of a Black Hat, it's on Amazon Prime.
It's on Amazon. Yeah.
Definitely go check it out. It's like a mockumentary, I believe, of like a hip hop group on the come up and the trials and tribulations of fame. It's really good, really put together.
It's a rap Spinal Tap, is what it is.
Exactly. Kind of like a CB4, like the
but better.
Kind of, yeah, but better. I agree.
In fact, CB4 they came after Rusty. They wanted him to direct that movie, and so we had the meeting. This is before we had the deal to do Fear of a Black Hat. So he said, well, they wanted him to write it. He said, well, the only way I'd write it is if I could direct it. And they were like, well, what would you do? He said, I'd get rid of all this plot and make it a mockumentary like this Spinal Tap. So they didn't hire him, and then took the idea. And then, so then we shot, we went into production before them, and they got out of post before us. They had $10 million. Yeah. So they ended up going to the big screen first. So we sat on the shelf for a couple of years because ITC didn't know what to do with it. And meanwhile, their president got fired. And so it just sat on the shelf. And then finally, when it opened, it only opened on 10 screens nationwide. And but it stayed in the Village in New York for 2 years.
Word up.
Which is real cool. It's like, but it's before Chuck, it's the thing that I get recognized most for. It's like now it's either Chuck or Fear of a Black Hat.
Yeah. Did they release an official soundtrack for that?
Yes, years later, soundtrack came out. Larry Robinson, who was the music supervisor, put it out. And you can probably get one online for like $80.
Does it have like the completed tracks that you guys do in the the movie? Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. Cool. I love that, dude. I'm big into getting it like the repressing of like soundtracks is a huge business right now with all the horror films and action movies. They're repressing them. I would love to see a Fear of a Black Hat repressing.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
That'd be the shit.
Yeah, it was fun to do too. We had to shoot. We had to record that whole soundtrack in one weekend because all of a sudden it was like, oh, we start Monday. We need the soundtrack before we start. So we went to Larry's house and shot it at his home studio, the whole weekend, and then went to work.
It is, and it's like a perfect time capsule of like that period and the different characters in hip hop. You know what I mean? Like you would have the different vibes. You'd have like, you know what I mean? There'd be like, I love the guy always pulling out the guns.
Larry B.
Always, dude. I love it. And then beat up all the agents, managers get killed. The beepers like everywhere was great. I love that movie. Everybody go check that movie out. That's a great movie.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. I also want to know in that year, you did an episode of In Living Color, which I didn't want to skip over because I loved In Living Color as a kid, dude. That was I think probably the best like sketch show ever put on TV. I love that.
Oh yeah, it was really good. It was really a good show and really a good time for Black actors, to work and Black comics to work. Jamie Foxx blew up because of it. Just a great time. And it's funny because I started shaving my head because of doing an episode of that. I played Mr. T. Yeah. And so they cut my head into the mohawk, and then when it was over, I just had him shave it off. And then I was doing this play, and the director says, "Hey, can you keep that?" I was like, "Yeah." So I kept my head shaved, and then we did some photos. And at the time, there was this photographer who would put you in a dark room, and he did a thing called painting with light. And he'd open the lens of the camera and take a flashlight and light your face where he wanted it lit. And one night I'm sitting backstage waiting to go on, and I look up on the screen and there's a giant picture of me that he had shot. It was just an awesome picture. And I was like, oh, I should keep this bald head for a while. Because at the time it was just me and Kareem, with the bald head. And then Michael Jordan started wearing the bald head. Then everybody started wearing the bald head. And I decided one day I was going to grow my hair back. And I had a big hole in my afro. I was like, ah.
How was meeting the Wayans family, Keenan Ivory and all the
Keenan was gone by then.
Oh, really?
Keenan had already left the show.
Yeah.
So I think I only met Marlon and Sean. Yeah, they were the only ones that were there. I think Damon was gone too. I think my scene was with Jamie. So
Jamie's a good guy, you said?
Oh yeah, Jamie's a good dude.
Great.
He's really positive dude, very talented. It's like you can't deny that kid's got talent.
Yeah, I mean, you watch Ray. Anybody that denies him talent, watch Ray, because he's just he is Ray. You know what I mean? Ray Charles.
Yeah, you should hear. There's an interview that he did where he's talking about getting the job. They take him to Ray's house, and they have two pianos, two baby grands like side by side, and Ray would go, okay, play this, and he'd play something, and Jamie would play something. He'd play something, Jamie would play it again, and then he'd play something else, and Jamie would play it. And then he gets to jazz and more complicated tunes. And then Jamie was like, not quite getting it. And then he gets it. And then he's not quite getting it. And Ray said, I thought you said you could play, son. And Jamie tells the story. It's so funny. But then he finally gets it. And then Ray goes, yeah, that's him. That's the one.
That's like, Ray Charles is iconic.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my probably one of my favorites, him and Sam Cooke.
I love Sam Cooke.
Yeah.
So many great jams. We were part of a show recently where they talking about he had a really mysterious death, which nobody kind of knows how he died. It was
it's very fishy. Well, he got murdered in a hotel. There was a hooker involved who ran out of the hotel room with his pants and his money, and he saw her go into the manager's office, who said she wasn't there. So he goes back, and then he comes back to the manager's office, and the manager shoots him. Yeah. And they don't find the hooker that night, and they find his pants with $1,500 still in the pocket. His car, his Ferrari, is in the parking lot running, so he was getting ready to leave, and just murdered. But at the time, he was creating, there's ASCAP and BMI, and he was creating his own publishing. Yeah. And so there's rumors that it could have been that, and then there's rumors that it could have been Barry Gordy, So there's all these rumors. I read his autobiography because I wanted to do a one-man show about it.
That'd be cool.
Years ago, and the Klein, who owned his music, wouldn't give me the rights to the music. He's like, what are you trying to do? So, yeah, I'm just trying to do a one-man show, a play. A play? You want to do a play? No, we're not giving any rights for that. So then a friend of mine told me, just do it, make you stop. And but then I just didn't want to deal with the hassle of it. Right. What if it was good and then nobody and then now I gotta figure out how to do it with music that sounded like Sam Cooke. Right. But his daughter Carla is doing a lot of his music on tour. She's touring, doing a touring tribute. Oh, and cool. She's pretty talented too, and really an awesome person. I keep telling her I want to open for her.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think her manager is one of my bookers for comedy, and I keep saying, hey, y'all should just let me open for Carlos sometime. So he was trying to get it started, and then COVID happened.
Yeah, COVID killing off everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we had that talk about Sam Cooke. I think that's what it was. I think we thought that figured out that's kind of the record label had issues with him, so they put him in a dangerous situation, and
Yeah, well, he started his own label, starting his own artists, and
they don't like that.
They don't like that.
Nope. No way.
and people were jumping out of Motown into SAR, You know, so it's like, so there's a lot of maybes,
Yeah,
but nobody investigated. You know, that's the thing. There was no investigation.
that's part of it. Yeah, it's part of the whole deal with, whenever there's no investigating, you're looking
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
problem.
I always tell people, like when you see somebody that murders themselves, I always tell people, if you ever hear telling me killing myself, start the investigation. I am not mad at me.
Right. It's true. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, the vibe with those things was super weird.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go into a happier note.
Yes.
You did some Seinfeld episodes, which, again, arguably, quite possibly the biggest show that was ever on television.
Oh yeah. Well, the first 2 years it was dead last in ratings.
Yeah.
It was the last show that the networks left alone and let it find its audience. And after that, then it's like, because of all the corporate stuff, now you got to do numbers right now.
Mm-hmm.
And but that first 2 years of Seinfeld, it wasn't the hit that it was. It didn't have its audience yet. But once it found that audience, and they cleaned up the format a little bit, because remember in the beginning, Jerry would do stand up at the top and then stand up between every scene.
Yeah.
And then when they took that out, it only put at the top and at the end, bookend the show. It was much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the characters are great. That's why you keep watching.
Alexander, did you want to bring up Crimson Tide?
Actually, yeah, I
can feel it in you. I can feel it in
you. You can feel my mode. My mode. Well, what can I say? I mean, I consider two of the greatest actors that I've ever watched would be Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman.
Oh yeah.
And both of them in Crimson Tide. I mean, I just have to ask, how was that experience working with two what I consider two of the most iconic actors that ever hit the screen?
It was really cool. In fact, it was that movie where I quit my day job. I was waiting tables and bartending, and asked for days off, and the only caveat was you had to cover your shift. So I did that, and then I get a call from the general manager saying, "Hey, the girl who you covered your shift with, she hasn't worked the main dining room, so you got to find somebody else." I was like, "Well, the MOD signed off on it, so if you want somebody else, you got to find them. I'm not coming in. I'm working, so I'm not doing it." And then he was talking a bunch of crap behind my back. And one of the other waiters called me and said, "Hey, he's over here saying he should fire you." I said, "Hand him your phone." And so he handed him the phone. I said, "A man would have just called me and fired me." I said, "Women behind my back talking about me." I said, "I'll come in and pick up my check on Monday. I don't work Monday. I'll come and get it. So go ahead and cut that check. I'll see you Monday." And that was the end of my day job.
Yeah. Right up.
But Denzel was awesome to work with. It was I had met him in '87, and then saw him a couple times. Playing basketball at the Y in Hollywood. But this was my first time working with him, and man, just really easy to work with. It's like he gives you so much that it's like, if you're not good, it's because you suck. Because he's giving you ample opportunity to be good.
Yeah.
And that didn't have much interaction with Gene. Really that one scene in the rain that we shot, 20 times. But him walking with that little dog. It's like, other than that, that was it.
That was Tony Scott, I believe, right?
Yeah, Tony Scott.
How was Tony Scott, the late great Tony Scott?
Oh man, he was really good to work with. It's like he's another one that knew what he wanted to see, and set the shot up, and if you had an idea of something that you were doing, he asked you about it. You go ahead and pitch it to him, and it was either yay or nay. But a lot of times it was like, yeah, do that. It was really cool.
Yeah, you often hear that with like the really good directors. They're open to that input. Whether they use it or not is up to them, but they're definitely open to hear it.
Exactly.
Next up would be Tales from the Hood, 1995.
Rosalind Cash, who I did Antony and Cleopatra with, my very first equity show, Actors Equity play at Los Angeles Theater Center. Just a beautiful woman, beautiful spirit. You know, when the movie comes on and Killer K is in a cell doing sit-ups and she and I are walking down the thing, you know, we had already worked together before and I hadn't seen her in several years. And as soon as I saw her, she just gave me a big hug and just a sweet lady. You know, she was great in it. It's like, and that's one of the last things that she did before I think she got on a soap opera after that and she passed from cancer. But she was great in that film. Just her look, her acting, and everything, and which was really cool because, you know, the first time I ever noticed her was Omega Man. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah.
Charlton Heston.
Yeah, she was in Omega Man. She was great in it. But then Clarence, I mean, just stole the movie. I mean, he was so good.
Yeah.
I didn't have any scenes with him, but I hung out one day, you know, while they were working with him and just watching him do takes of his stuff. It's just like, man, I'm not even an actor. Why am I even bothered? Somebody get me a mop, because clearly this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, because I'm not doing it like that.
That would have been great to see him do that character. That character's got to be one of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah, and then when he gets the horns.
Yeah. He hulked out. Yeah.
This ain't no funeral home.
It ain't the Terradome neither. Yeah, dude, great. Love it. That movie's twisted. I love it.
Well, Rusty, I mean, that's Rusty. And here's the thing, you know, it was a $6 million budget, and Spike took half off the top because they were having a hard time finding money to do the trilogy. And when I first read the script, I said to Rusty, I said, if you can get these images that you have in the script, it'd be fantastic. And because they didn't have the whole $6 million, you know, it suffered a little bit on the production quality side of it. And but it's still good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they did a remake.
They did. A sequel. We sequelized it, I think.
Yeah, with Keith David. Keith David. Yeah.
They Live, yeah. And Requiem for a Dream. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Tales from the I got a sequel. They sequelized it, and love it. It does. You know, to know that it didn't have all the money that it should have. It doesn't even look that way. I feel the way it looks. It does have like a little rougher, lower budget look to it, but I think that like help that is like part of the beauty of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's still good. I mean, it's still.
Oh, I love it.
Good, but you know, I wish they would have had all the dope to do it. You know.
Yeah. I had a question of Fear of the Black Cat. Did any rappers ever have any issue with that, or you ever meet a rapper that goes, I don't like how you portrayed that, man?
No, in fact, just recently on Twitter, I forget the cat's name from PM Dawn, said, hey man, because I had posted a thing. He goes, that was messed up. He says, but we used to watch that thing and laugh. Prince B loved you, man. And I was like, pretty cool. Because I do the tone deaf thing, which is basically Prince B. And so, but then one time I was at the gym in Hollywood, and Grandmaster Flash came up to me, and he goes, hey man, I'm gonna tell you like this. It was just like that. So funny. You know, we're trying to get a little TV thing off. We tried a sizzle reel. I think it was 2019, and tried to get it shopped, but you know, everybody's like, well, maybe we think it's too far gone. It's too long ago. I mean, you're doing all these reboots of these sitcoms.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to get it to Fitty and let Fitty produce it. I think that would be great.
Yeah, you could always get with the band now. I mean, there's so much because you just tell the story.
And that's what it is. You know, what are they doing now, basically? Yeah. You know, it's like they're all broke and trying to get back into the game.
One of them has to be successful. One of them's got to the hope. He's got to have his own energy drink or water or something.
Something, yeah.
That'd be cool. You were in Third Rock. I did an episode of Third Rock from the Sun. Me and Alex met French Stewart recently. He was very nice.
Oh yeah, man, that dude is funny.
He's a funny dude.
He was a funny dude. I was supposed to do more episodes of Third Rock, but then when they called me the second time, I was working on a film in North Carolina, I think, so I couldn't do it. But I think had I been able to do it, I probably would have been sort of a recurring character. I think I played a bartender on there, and it's like I was bummed. I was like, ah. But you know, Lithgow was the first actor that I watched in a movie and went, wow, this dude is so good. You know what I mean? It was because I wasn't an actor then. You know, when I saw him do Terms of Endearment, I was still in high school. And he was so good. And it was such a small part, but memorable and riveting and just brilliance.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him that, you know, when I worked with him. And he drew me like a doodle. You know, he's like, he would doodle, and he drew like this whole thing, a doodle, and gave it to me opening night, the night that we shot the thing. It was really cool.
Yeah, he is. You know, he did like what's the world according to Garp.
Oh yeah,
ridiculous, crazy in that. You know, transformed for that.
Yep.
You know, Ricochet. You know, he's a psychopath. You know, he plays psychopath. He can do anything. You really can.
Did you see Dexter? His arc in Dexter.
Yeah.
The first time you see him, he's such a nice guy. He's bringing this lady's dog back. Next time you see her, she's bleeding out in the tub.
Yeah. He's perfect for that. He did a De Palma movie, but I believe he was like a killer in that too. But yeah, you gotta love this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. He's really a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
You know, and another one that I don't think gets enough credit. You know what I mean? He's good at it.
It's true.
You know, he bounces back from TV to film. You know, and a lot of you know, and sitcoms specifically. I mean, you know, that sitcom was a huge hit, and you know, there's not a lot of stars that have been able to do that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even though a lot of them are reading for sitcoms now, which is interesting. I remember going into an audition and it's like this movie star sitting there. I'm like, what? Isn't that just the offer? You're making him read.
Now the little screen has become the big screen. Yeah,
absolutely. That's why I'm doing these podcasts, because it's even smaller. It's a smaller screen.
3 screens within one, so it's even smaller than smaller.
Before you know it, it'll be even smaller. It'll be like just on like your fingertip, you know?
Yeah,
yeah.
On your glasses, you it's right up here in the corner of your glasses.
One thing I have to say, I mean, as you mentioned before, I gotta say I was a big fan of the TV series Chuck, which you play Big Mike. I was doing some research. It actually said that you first auditioned for Harry Tang.
Yeah. I went in. I read for Harry Tang, and Big Mike wasn't in the script. And then Josh Schwartz liked me and wrote in the Big Mike character. And
so you were Big Mike. They created the character Big Mike for you.
It was supposed to be like, you know, kind of a, you know, you're gonna be Chuck's boss. It's gonna be a high buy kind of thing. It's when my agents, it was pitched to my agent, so he wasn't a series regular, but I did every episode of the first season. and then they made me a series regular the next season, which was really cool. So yeah, probably the most fun I've ever, well, tied with the George Wendt show. George Wendt was just awesome. We always had fun on George Wendt show. So between Chuck and George Wendt, it was the most fun that I've ever done in TV.
So how was the George Wendt?
Yeah.
I mean, working with, both Matt and I are big Cheers fans. So.
Oh, George is a great guy, man. It's like one day George sees in the paper that there's this big barbecue competition going on back east somewhere, and these guys out in Carolina somewhere won. So he contacts them, and they ship him a bunch of barbecue. So we get to work one day, and he goes, "Hey, when we get off work, we're gonna go to my house. We're gonna eat this barbecue that I had these guys ship me." And we get there, it's so good. It was like that pulled pork and ribs, and we're all full. They had to go to work the next day. So
God, I'm celebrating over here. Ooh.
Man, it was great. It was great. But George, I mean, he was just like that, just generous like that. Just a good dude. It's in fact, toward the end of the show, they had retooled the pilot. I wasn't in the original pilot, and then they retooled it. I ended up in the show, and then the show wasn't getting great numbers, so they wanted to retool it again. They were bringing in James Burrows and his crew, and then they wanted to retool the actors. And George said, look, if it's not the actors, he said, if you want to change the actors, then I'm out. And that was it. And I really, loved him for that. It's like he stuck up for us. Yeah.
So that was the end of it?
That was the end of it.
So he was trying to call the bluff, and they called his bluff, unfortunately, one of those things.
Yeah, but
huge respect to the man.
He had gone through the retooling once before, and it didn't fix the problem. The problem, and he was right, the problem wasn't with the actors. The problem was, in my opinion, was with some of the directors. It's like Robbie Benson, his episode was the best episode. They used Terry Hughes a lot, who directs a lot of sitcoms, but Terry is a camera guy. He's not an actor guy. So like there was a scene where my character comes in, and I'm pissed, and I gotta talk to George. I come into the garage, and George is over there, and so I'm just gonna go right to George. He goes, "Mark, when you come in, stop at the water cooler where Finney is." I said, "Well, I have the first line and the second line in the scene, and I'm angry. Why would I go there? And the guy is right there." He says, "Well, I get a nice two-shot." And when you watch those episodes, you see that, okay, the joke doesn't play across the room like that. It plays in front of the audience because they see the whole thing. But the way they cut it, it was a hiccup in the delivery. And so it just didn't work. And so the problem, I think, was with directing and editing. It wasn't the cast. Of course, now I'll never work with Terry Hughes again, but oh well.
Alex will put in a good word for you.
I'll smooth it over. I've been known to smooth over, disagreements.
You prefer working on TV over film, or just you like both of them?
I like both of them. I prefer stage over both of them. Because stage is like, you get that immediate feedback from the audience. If you suck right now, you can come back tomorrow and fix it if you can, So I like that. And stand-up is the same sort of adrenaline rush that you get from stage. So I like the live stuff better. TV and film, you don't know how the editing is going to end up. You don't know what take they're going to use. Pursuit of Happiness, for example, my big scene with Will, my second take was my best take. It's like, and I knew it. And Will, while we were shooting, went, "Man, that was fantastic," because he watched it on the monitor. He said, "You want to see?" I said, "I can't watch myself because I change it, I fix it." Yeah. And so he, when I finally saw it, I was like, "Oh, they used his best take, not my best take," and I get it. I'm not the star of the movie. So you don't have any control over that, but you have control over what you're doing and what people see when you're live.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, watching The Pursuit of Happiness, I really like your character. I mean, I love characters in movies that might be small, but they have like a very specific point.
Yeah.
And your character, I really thought really from the point and helped, I think, especially in the two scenes that you are with him, helped to elevate Will Smith's, anxiety and helplessness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And first with him running in, trying to write down the telephone number, and you're throwing out these numbers. And I love it, and 14's a number at the very
And I almost didn't get the job because I go in and read, and Will's people are there, casting is there, the director is in Italy, Gabriele Muccino, he's in Italy. So they said, I leave there, and I felt real good about it. I called my agent, I said, it went really well. So then we get a call a couple days later. They're going to bring him back to read for the director. The director's in Italy. He'll be back in a couple months. So I go back and everybody's happy to see me. I was like, good to see y'all. And so we started reading. And in the middle of my read, Gabrielle was looking at me like this. And then he goes, no, it's not funny. This is not a funny film. This is not funny. Don't make it funny. I said, Black people are going to laugh at that. I said, whether you think it's funny or not, people are going to laugh. And, so then finally, I get the job and I go to San Francisco to shoot. I'm up there a couple months, and Halloween, he has a party. And so I go to the party a little early, and he says, oh, I'm glad you came early. He says, I want to talk to you. He says, I didn't want to hire you. He says, because I thought you were too funny. He says, and I knew the part needed a rewrite. He says, and now I'm so glad that I hired you because you're bringing stuff to it that's not there. I was like, well, see?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I always think that is extremely important. I mean, when a director or a casting director casts someone, that they might have an idea, but have to be open to the interpretation that the actor puts out. I mean, you can go in with like a specific idea, and then the actor brings something else to it, which I think is very important.
Yeah, so I always bring my own spin, but then I'm willing to if they give me a note at the audition to do what they're asking me to do. But I always put my own spin on it. This is the way I see it, and more times than not, it works out for me.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm doing a project, when I'm acting, I always read it and I go in with the way I see it, and then the director either likes it or the director wants me to change it. And
Yeah.
I think that's important part with actors, that you've got you look at it, you do it the way the first time you see it, and then you modify it if you have to, depending
Be
on
willing to make the adjustment and be able to make the adjustment on the spot. I mean, that's what gets you the job. If you can, if they can see that they can work with you, you make that adjustment. Then that helps you.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, as we're saying, I mean, working with Will Smith, especially in the very last scene that you two have, where you guys are going about the $14. That, as far as I'm concerned, was one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it what really worked is you got Will Smith, who is practically, just losing it, and then you're just adamant that no, I don't owe you the $14, that we're square. And I mean, just that itself, like I said, the different attitudes and all that in that one scene just really, I thought, really made it.
Yeah. And here's the awesome thing about movies and people watching movies, that I was doing comedy on a cruise, and they were playing it in a loop in different languages. So like any given time of day or night, you could tune in and see Pursuit of Happiness. And I ended up not being able to go anywhere on the cruise, because people were stopping me going, why didn't you give him that money? I was like, you realize it's a movie, right? Like, I'm not the real guy. You.
Well, I mean, honestly, I have to say, truth be told, I have to reconsider if I'm going to loan you $14 from now on. Just saying, you need $14, and you're asking me, there's going to be a little bit of a hesitance right there.
Well, listen, if I help you move, I think that's worth way more than $14.
That's true.
And in my defense, technically, it was Will Smith.
Yeah,
I needed the $14 more than him.
That's true.
That is true.
That's a good one for tell the audience member that. Yeah, if you think that I'm the real guy being that mean, hey.
Right.
Any good stories of working with Tim Burton? on Planet of the Apes?
I almost didn't do that one too. It's like
Yeah.
they hired me and they kept moving my start date, and then I was scheduled to do a play, and we were in tech rehearsals, and so I get a call, hey, you working tomorrow? I said, no. I said, you need to call my agent. I said, I can't come tomorrow. I said, tomorrow doesn't work. I'm in tech, 12 to 12. So my agent gets involved, and they go back and forth, and finally it came down to they were going to send a car to San Diego to pick me up, drive me to LA, do the thing, get me back in time for tech rehearsal. And my agent says, so you okay with that? And I said, yeah. And then and they were on a three-way call, and they had them on the phone. Producers, you guys okay with that? Yeah. All right. So 6 a.m., I'm in a car to LA. I get to set, meet Tim, and he says, I'm so glad we were able to make this work. He says, I really loved what you did on the audition, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And so, we do probably about 4 or 5 takes and put me back in the car and send me back to rehearsal. And it was fine. I was hoping to work with him on something else though, because I really like his stuff. Like when I remember seeing Nightmare Before Christmas, and I became a huge Tim Burton fan after that.
Yeah, he's doing a new Batman, I guess.
Oh, is it?
I think I heard that.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, because he was bummed that they wouldn't let him go dark with the first Batman.
Yeah.
It's like so that's why he wasn't involved in the next one, because he wanted to do the Dark Knight. He wanted it to be dark, and they wouldn't let him. It's like, well, why are you hiring him? That's his thing.
Yeah, Tim Burton seems fun. Like a kid kind of. He seems like a big kid.
Yeah, and really nice. He's really nice.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I said they're hoping that Tim Burton will become all sunshines and puppy dogs, what they want him to be.
Yeah, they'll be puppy dogs, but they're skeletons.
I mean that's the thing I always find amazing is you'll have a producer, okay, and they'll like, for example, see Tim Burton. They're like, oh my God, this guy is doing great stuff. I want him to do this film, and then they bring him in, and then when he's doing exactly what he was doing before and doing such a great job with it, they're like, well, I think it should be, more.
Yeah, they clip his wings.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, listen, if you're going to bring in, whether it's a director, actor, and all that, and they have a certain style, okay, and they go into that style while doing the film, you shouldn't be like, well, I don't know. I think that we should, put a little sunshine there with a little baby smiley face.
Yeah. Why do you like if you hire Don Knotts?
Yeah.
You're gonna get Don Knotts. That's what he does.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna get physical comedy, and the writer that writes with him comes too.
Yeah.
So it's like don't expect you're gonna get anything other than that. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I think producers think that they're collaborators creatively. I think that's so they go, well, this is my chance for me and Tim to make a movie together. Here we go. You know what I mean?
Right. Let me help Tim out.
Tim's lucky that I came into his life at this time.
Right.
You did an episode of one of my favorite shows of current time, Grounded for Life, which not a lot of people talk about it, but I love that show.
I don't even remember Grounded for Life. I'm trying to think if it was the thing where I was like a tow truck driver and had this big giant pit bull. Is that what it was?
Dwayne. Your name was Dwayne, and the episode was Pressure Drop.
Oh yeah, that's what. So I get to work and they bring this pit bull to meet me. Biggest pit bull I had ever seen. The head was like enormous, and she comes in and she looks at me and then just drops her head onto my lap.
Oh.
And then I rub her head and she just wagging her tail. She didn't have a chopped tail. She had a long tail, and she'd walk by you and smack you with it. Just happy dog, biggest, nicest pit bull I'd ever seen, but scary looking when she first walks there. That's all I remember about that show.
Don't trust a book by its cover is the old saying, right?
Exactly.
Never trust a book by its cover. Actually, there's another movie I wanted to ask you about. You were in the film Capex.
Yes.
Yeah.
That,
How was that experience?
that came on the heels of the 2000 commercial strike.
Okay.
And so so I was out of work for a long time because I was doing a lot of commercials, late 80s, most of the 90s. And then so just, work had dried up, man. It was so slow. And then we just got a flat offer. And go to the table, read. And I was like, okay, this part is not a whole lot, but I'm just thankful to be working. And so as we started working, Spacey was great to work with, and Jeff Bridges was amazing. He gave me, he came in, he asked me if I'd ever seen Past the Pigs. I said no. And he had in his pocket a little thing that looked like this. And he opens it up, and it's a game, kind of like a board game, but it's these little pigs.
Yeah.
And you roll them like dice.
Huh.
And they land certain ways. Like this one landed on his back. So that's called a trotter because the feet it's a crazy fun game.
Yeah.
So he and I played it a few times, and then the last day that I worked, he gave me one. And it was so much fun. So I bought a bunch of them for people for Christmas. And then I was working on Lost Treasure with Stephen Baldwin and Nicolette Sheridan, and I showed Nicolette how to play, and they go, "Where's Nicolette?" She's in her dressing room rolling her eyes. It was so funny, but I keep it in my backpack.
It's fun too. It's old school. It's not a video. It's not electronic. It's actual.
Exactly, old school game. You got to be able to do math because you got to tally up your scores.
I don't know about math. Math and me have a long hatred with each other.
Hey, it's just simple addition.
That's true.
So 1 + 1 = 5, right?
Something like that. Something like that.
Sure. You owe me money.
I add
21 if you're naked.
You got to work with Rob Zombie.
Loved working with Zombie. The first, I did the first Halloween movie with Rob, and this is the way he worked with me. He's like, hey, so here's the written stuff. He says, but I just want this guy to just be talking. He says, so just talk, say whatever. And so he just let me go, right? So I'm just saying whatever. I'm improv in this whole scene, and then he's taking notes, and he comes over. And he says, oh, that was great. He says, you said this, this, and this. He says, make sure this time through you say those things again. He says, I love that. Say that again. So we go through it and we do it again. And I say that, and then he comes back. He goes, oh, that was great. Add this stuff in too, because you said that, and this is great. We do probably 5 or 6 takes like that. And then he goes, okay, now put it all together. So then I run it all together and we do it. And then was it Michael Myers character is supposed to come out of the bathroom, he kill somebody in the bathroom, come into the office, kill me, and then go through the window. So, and we're running out of time. It's the end of the night, right? So he comes out and doesn't come into the office. He just kicks open the front door and keeps going. And so about 6 months later, I get a call from Rob going, hey, this is Rob Zombie. I said, hey, Rob, it's good to hear from you. He goes, listen, he says, I just wanted to call you and tell you that I had to cut your scene. He says, because he didn't come and kill you. And I'm looking for stuff to cut to get under 90 minutes. He says, but it wasn't because of your acting. I want you to know it was fantastic. He says, I'll get you in the next one. And, you hear you'll be in the next one many times. And sure enough, he put me in the next one. So good dude. He told me a funny story about Jada Pinkett that she had a metal band. She opened for him.
Really?
And he said she'd come in, her kids were little. She said she'd come in, she had her little trench coat, got her little kids walking in. And then you'd hear at sound check. He said He said it was the most surreal thing because you see like this little lady with these little kids, and then all of a sudden you hear this voice. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I never would have imagined that in a million years.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know that she
pretty
was
cool.
musically inclined. Yeah, I knew that she was musical. But heavy
But
metal,
metal.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a left turn for me. I was like, what?
I love her in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight. Alexander Hawk, do you have any questions, my friend?
Yeah, actually, one of the things, you were in the movie Cooties as Mr.
Foodie's great movie, yes.
Peterson.
I was a teacher, and this little kid, it's like the only time that I've worked that I felt like, I could get hurt because this little kid was trying to bite me, and he was strong. He had like superhuman strength because I'm trying to hold this kid off of me.
Yeah.
And he's like, and literally, I think they just told him, okay, here's the teacher. He comes out, you get him and you bite him and you kill him. And this kid was like trying to bite me. And it looks, when you watch it, it's like my face looks like I'm fearful, and I am.
Not just good acting. Did you get Elijah Woods produced that as well? He produced it, right? As well as acting it? Yeah. He's a big horror fan. Big horror fan guy. That's what I hear. Yeah, he does a lot of horror now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his production company is really kind of focusing on doing horror. I know that he produced Cooties. There's a
Colorado
few others I
Space.
think he's doing.
Yeah, he did like Colorado Space.
One thing I forgot to ask you that since as we already talked about, you were in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and also in the TV series Chuck. Now I know that Linda Hamilton played Chuck's mother. Now, from my memory, I don't think you two had any scenes together, but
No, we didn't have any scenes, but her first day on set, when I was working on Terminator 2, every day Linda Hamilton would come and give me a hug and a kiss.
Awesome.
Every single day, she's giving me a big hug and a kiss. And I walk into the makeup trailer, and there she is. She's in the makeup trailer. And I said, hi, Linda. And she went, hey, you. And she jumps up and gives me a big hug and a kiss. It's like, hadn't seen her since then. And just a sweet lady, really sweet lady. Her sister was in the movie in Terminator 2. In that scene where the apocalypse happens and she's looking through the fence on the playground. Yeah. That's her sister, her twin sister.
Really?
Yeah. And she passed recently.
Oh, rest in peace.
Which is really sad. Yeah. But yeah, Linda's just a sweetheart. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's great. I mean, I was wondering. I mean, it was funny because when you do a film like that, and then so many years later you end up on another project with that person. Sometimes people forget or people change, but it's great that when it feels like no time has passed, and it feels like the connection.
Yeah, you just pick up. Yeah. Yeah, that's she has that quality. She's just really, and I think part of that is just being real. It's like because you make relationships when you're working. You have relationships with people. Some you keep forever. Some disappear. But it was nice to work with her on that because it was a chance to see her again and express how I appreciate her. Back then, because it was at that point, like I said, the biggest thing I'd ever been involved in, and she was really gracious and fun to work with.
Yeah. Another thing on Chuck I want to say is that watching the episodes and of course, I mean, when you're watching the TV show, especially one that you like so much, you always like to think that everything is like. Everyone works as well together as they seem on screen. And I mean, especially when watching Chuck, it seemed like everyone was enjoying, everyone like really gelled and were great together. I mean, was that the case? I mean,
yeah. Chuck, especially there are 10 people in the cast. Yeah. So I've been on shows like Designing Women where they hated each other. You know, it's like I remember the tension was palpable. I remember saying to Meshach Taylor, "How do you work like this?" He went, "I just try to stay out of their way." And like we do a table read, they'd all just disappear. You know, we rehearse a scene and they just disappear, and it was because they were just at each other. Chuck was completely different than that. Everybody got along. It was really a fun set to be on. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, and I mean, working with Zachary, which is now, you know, he's kind of blowing up with Shazam and all that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, and it must have been great, you know, working with him and everyone together. Just like I said, it seemed like a really a good experience.
Yeah, it was. It absolutely was. You know, and Zach, you know, genuinely, you know, one of the most giving, um, uh, to a fault, kind people I've ever met. You know, in Hollywood, just you know, do anything for you if you can. Just great guy. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Happy I hear that because I mean I was a huge fan and I just thought it just, you know, was one of those fun shows that I always like putting on and always made me I like shows that makes you feel good. You get a good energy while watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing I liked about it most is that, you know, as I travel around the country doing stand up, there's the wide range of ages of people that like the show. You know, people that watched it as teenagers. You know, people in their 80s. It's like you know, people love the show, which is really fantastic.
Yeah. You know, we usually towards the end of things, we usually ask a question. We get a lot of like artists and actors and filmmakers, and we have some comedians listen to the show. We always like to ask if you have any advice for people for like times of discouragement when, you know, because, you know, we know the business is a lot of ups and downs and stuff. It's like, do you have any words for people that might be going through a down, you know,
Yeah.
future up is coming type deal?
Yeah, you know, this business is a business of high highs and low lows. I mean, when you're high, you're working on Terminator 2, you know, enjoying yourself, and then all of a sudden you got 3, 4, 5 months of nothing. You know, the lows are low and the highs are high. If you're a person of faith, cling to your faith. If not, understand that this too shall pass. You'll hang in there. You'll be okay. Find something else to occupy your time and occupy your mind. You'll take care of your body, take care of your mind, and you'll be fine. You're gonna get through this. You know, like everybody had a low this past year. You know, we were all just sitting around for months at a time, and we came through it, and we're getting through it, and moving forward. So understand that you'll be okay. You know, surround yourself with good people. Anybody that's got to bring in negativity into your life, get rid of them. There's no room for it. The business is hard enough. Get rid of negative Nellies out of your life. Do that part. And don't forget to have fun. It's like even if you're just sitting around, find some like-minded people and start creating together. You know, it's like I just locally in San Diego, I work with a bunch of people when I'm not busy. It's like I go and do like a little film with other people. You know, I'm a grip, I'm a PA or whatever. You know, just find some stuff to do. You'll be fine.
Yeah, that's great advice. You know what I mean? Perfection. Mark, you're a great guy.
Thanks, man.
You're a super talent, dude. We are super happy. We're excited to have you on the show. You know,
thanks for having me.
Anytime, dude. We're gonna whenever you want to come on. We'll be supporting from afar, and we'll always be supporting what you're doing. Like everybody, go check out Fear of a Black Hat. I love it. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else you want them to kind of check out?
Tyler Perry has a new show called All the Queen's Men. I'm doing 4 episodes of that. I think it starts in August on BET Plus. So if you have that in your cable network, check it out. And it's a rare dramatic role for me.
Yeah, is there any links or websites you want to put out that people can, you know, see your stand up, you know,
sure,
contact with you?
Sure, go to markchristopherlawrence.com, and all my social media is there, my Instagram, my Twitter, all that. My acting and comedy reels are there, so you can go see that stuff. you can shoot me an email through there and say hello. But I talk to people all the time on Instagram, or Facebook. So jump in on Instagram and follow Mark Christopher Lawrence and be good to yourself and stay happy and healthy and safe.
Amen. For sure. Definitely go out there and support them. Support the show. Support everything. Support everybody around you, everybody. That's all we ask. Well, Mark, again, thank you. We really appreciate it. It was
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. You guys take care.
You too. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
All right.
Have a good rest of the weekend.
Thank you. God bless.
All right. God bless. And with that being said, folks, that was another glorious interview on the BoomBastiCAST with our good pal, Mark Christopher Lawrence. That was a great stuff. We got a lot of info on that. That was great. A lot of awesome folks he worked with, a lot of awesome stories, all the awesome work he's done. Hawkman, what do you think? What do you think about that? How you digging on that?
I'm digging. I mean, the thing is that, is the best thing, and hopefully as we keep on going, the thing that I think Matt will also agree with me on
Yes.
is with these interviews, what we are trying to accomplish is not only hearing these great stories, finding out about these experiences, but also promoting actors that you might have seen but not really know who they are. I mean, you might have watched Chuck, Pursuit of Happiness, and seen Mark, but never really connected to who he is or what he has done before. And that's what we want to do. We want to promote, anyone and everyone that's trying to create, trying to promote and entertain us, especially after experiencing, COVID times where everyone's, suffering from, kind of depression, and they need, that outlet to. And Mark is one of the many people that helps us, get through these tough times.
Laughter.
Him, whether it's comedic or whether it's dramatic. And it was great having him on the show, and hopefully we'll have him on the show again.
Mark was a lot of fun. MCL up in the business. Much clown love. Mark Christopher Lawrence doing it big. That was a perfect example of what we're trying to do with this show. I think to go a little deeper into what you were saying. It's like we want to have all these cool people that we appreciate in film that are making waves. You know what I mean? That you recognize and you could tell, and you've seen these films, and we get to talk to them about their craft and how they came into it. How they all the cool people that they've got to work with, get to work with, and get to hear the stories of it. We might not have been able to be on the set of Planet of the Apes, but we got the little taste of what it was like to work with Tim Burton. You know what I mean? We weren't on the set of, Fear of a Black Hat, but we got a good idea of what that environment was like. And that's what I appreciate about the show so much. And we're all struggling artists, man. Even when you get to a point of success, like he said, like Mark said, it's ups and downs. You might be on top of the world on a Monday, and by Friday it ain't quite the top of the world anymore. But don't worry, because by Wednesday you'll be on top of the world again, at least in your own mind, and the place of keeping you stable. You know what I mean? And I always appreciate the ends where we get that advice. I think that's very valuable stuff, very important stuff to spit, let people know the journey. I think some of the most valuable info that this show has brought to the light is probably that last question about how to get through things like that. And all of our great guests have answered them perfectly. And it's funny, I was having this conversation with somebody recently, and I said, you'll talk to somebody that really hasn't done anything before, and you say, what advice would you give to somebody? And all the people would give the same exact advice. But then when you start talking to people that actually have, doing what they want to do, accomplishing their goals and their dreams, and doing what we all kind of want to do, when you ask them for their advice is always different than what the cookie cutter answer is. And there's always gems within these answers to pluck from, for everyday life as well as artistic life, and Mark Christopher Lawrence is the bomb diggity. He's the shit. We love him. Super talent. You should support him and love him too. He's done a. We've only covered maybe half of his body of work. You know what I mean? There's things on there that we wanted to go a little deeper into, but we had him for an hour and a half, and I didn't want to go too crazy with him. It's a Sunday afternoon. I'm sure he's got stuff he got to be doing. Busy man. That dude's doing all types of shite. And like I said, if the show was a big deal in the last 30 years, Mark was probably on that show. So word up. With that being said, do you want to say anything else in closing, my friend over there, Alexander Hawk, before we give our plugs?
Nothing much other than as we said before, check out these people, support them, show them love, because everyone, goes through tough times, as shown through In Pursuit of Happiness, where only Will Smith needed was that $14, and Wayne wouldn't give it to him.
I've been there, brother.
Sometimes all you need is $14.
That's right. And if Rusty Cundiff's listening, man, we love you to death too. We want to have you on the show.
Okay.
Big fans.
It would be an honor.
Big fans of everybody that we got our brought up today. And again, yeah, go check out Mark Christopher Lawrence and everything he does for sure. He's a supporter of our show, guys. He didn't have to come on our show. He did because he's a good man. Show him support and love back. And show us a little support and love. We got the BoomBastiCAST on Facebook. You can check out this episode as well as other episodes in the video format on the Boombastic Media YouTube page. And if anybody's looking to support a little financial funds, a little kickback, government gave everybody a lot of money recently, but nobody gave no money to the Boombastic organization. So if anybody wants to do that, feel free to hit us up on our Boombastic streaming on Patreon. If you want, and if you have any issue with that, come directly get a hold of us. It's probably on our pages. And we'll figure out a way to get you guys popping in a Boombastic world so everybody can be boombastical together. Alexander, anything else you want to say, my friend?
No, other than it was a pleasure talking to Mark Christopher Lawrence, and it was a pleasure hosting this show with you, my friend.
Oh, it was a goddamn pleasure, my friend. Everybody be good out there. Be safe. Follow everybody involved in the show. Thanks again, Mark Christopher Lawrence. And rest in peace, Clarence Williams III, just passed. Guy's the man. Everybody involved today was the man, in a good way. So we'll catch y'all on the next episode of the BoomBastiCAST.